What's up, everybody? Chris back with another Dragon Ball Super video, and today I am actually doing, it's been a while since I've actually done a deck profile of my own, but I'm going to be just bringing you guys a list that I've played at a few locals. I've also just had a lot of fun playing, and maybe have some more fun in the future with it. It's going to be Raditz, and this is a black-green variant of the deck, mainly because I like the warping benefits of what the black cards can bring rather than just the pure hand destruction. I think it actually is more valuable that way, just because it allows certain cards in your deck to just multiply their effectiveness, 3 or 4 times that amount. And also I truly hate, this is going to sound really weird, but I truly hate full hand destruction archetypes. And I know that's kind of silly considering what this deck is, right? I get that, right? But what really kind of like, wanted me to play the deck was the fact that it kind of acts like a black leader, right? Like it's able to put stuff in the warp, and that's not something a green deck does. Yes, it's hand destruction, but being able to put it in the warp is just, it's a different level of toxicity. And I don't, like I said, I don't like hand destruction. I don't like full hand destruction decks like this, but I think it's the fact that I'm able to play black cards in it that I was like, okay, I guess I will allow myself to play a deck like this every now and then. So I think this is a 50, I think it's 52 cards, 53 card list. Like I said, primarily this is going to be a black deck, so we'll go through a lot of the first cards you're going to see are going to be green cards, and then everything else is going to be black. So when this card attacks, your opponent chooses a card in their hand, sends into the warp. It's pretty nifty, right? Activate main, you search top 5 for a red or a green Raditz, Vegeta, or Nappa. Add a card to your hand, and if you did, you get to pitch a card. And you can awaken if you have 4 life, or a green Unison energy cost of 3, which then you are restand 1, draw 1. This side, they still do the same thing. If when your opponent has 4 or more black cards, non-black cards in their warp, this card gains crit for the turn. Then you can place 4 non-black cards from your opponent's warp at the bottom of their deck in any order, and then you get to swing 3 times. And the idea is that you swing 3 times when you have crit. Triple attack crit is pretty hard to deal with, and we have some cool cards in the deck that allows us to operate with that. So some of these sleeves are going to be different colors. I apologize. I just kind of took cards out of other decks, and I can't find, I didn't want to like fully unsleeve some of my decks to do this, so I just kind of just added the cards that were from different decks, so I apologize with that. Vegeta here, change the lighting here a little bit. So Vegeta the Lone Prince, this is your super combo, 1 drop, play it, your opponent pitches a card. I like this because it's searchable. Also, it just adds to your hand destruction, numbers. Early game, if you don't really want to play too much stuff, you can just slam this down turn 1. They pitch a card, and now you do have some defense that you can use if your opponent decides to try to aggro you down a little bit early. But also, you just play it just to make to make your opponent pitch a card. But it's also searchable. 3 of this Vegeta and 3 of this Vegeta. So we run these because they are 1-drop cantrips, and they're also green, and they're also Vegeta. So the idea of all of these cards is that all of these are just 1-drop cantrips. I mean, this is also like a super combo, but these are all 1-drop cantrips that all do something when you play them. So it just gives us a ton of 1 energy plays. This Vegeta here has barrier, and also if your opponent basically, they use a counter skill to restand an energy. You can crit them a life and a card in their energy. It will happen sometimes, not generally, but also you can play this guy on turn 1, cycle a card, and then this card is safe now on board as a 5k combo for any point in the game, which just allows you to just make sure that you're going to have value on board, right? That's pretty cool. This guy here is a 1-drop, draw 1, and if your opponent is running some form of hand destruction or like a floodgate that makes you pitch cards, you can swing still, pitch this card, use it to draw. So if they have Bupo, Topo, or you're just playing against another green deck and they decide to like rebrand you, or Rosie or something, you can just pitch these to then draw those cards. It's pretty cool. But like I said, also again, these are all searchable. So that's what makes them, the most beneficial, because it's all searchable. Last green card, I believe, in the entire deck, except for 1 that's not really as relevant as this. It's going to be Raditz. Again, searchable. This is like the big boy of the deck. So if your leader is Raditz, you get to choose one of the following effects. So the bottom effect, you get to take a life, up to 1 life, and then you get to kill one of your opponent's battle cards 1 or less. It's a really stupid effect. You're never going to do that unless you need to get down to 5 life, right? Or you need to get down to 4 life. The top effect is the important one. You draw 1 card for every 2 non-black cards in your opponent's warp. So I think I've drawn a max of like 6 or 8 cards. I think in one, just off of one of these. And this card itself changes the entire course of the game. And this is why we wanted to run mainly a black strategy, because outside of our opponent using Overwhelm, it's going to take a lot to get cards in your opponent's, warp, right? So with this, these cards here as our cantrips, this is our, this is going to help us refill our hand. All of these are 1 energy cost plays, so we don't have to charge a lot of green. That's the main purpose of this. We want to charge like 1, maybe 2 green at the very most. Just keep all these other plays so we can at least play this guy out later on in the game. So you have your Vegeta to make your opponent drop cards. You have these cards here that are going to make you draw cards. They're also for blue and green hate. And then this guy here, which is going to draw us basically through our entire deck. So we have that. That is the green package. So that is mainly all the green cards in the entire deck. Like I said, there's one more card. We'll get to it later on. So one of the cards we use to pitch off of our leader effect is going to be Grade 8. I do not run the Ribrianne card. I'll be the first person to say it. I hate Ribrianne. I do not think it's a good card. For 2 energy, there are better cards in this deck, including this, that I would rather pay 2 energy for just to make my opponent pitch 2 cards. I just think it's stupid. I don't think it's worth however much money it is right now. I think it's like 12 or 15 bucks. It's not worth that. It's not a great card. We can have a discussion about it or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. I don't think it's good, right? So this card here is a better play because this is actually gaining me hand advantage. Like I'm drawing cards. This is good, right? That's the main target. Side deck, if I were to show a side deck off, I would be siding Koitsukai. So I can do the same thing with my leader. There's also the 1-drop ape that you can use as well. That's just a 1-drop version of this where you just tap 1, warp it, draw a card. That's also good too, but I wouldn't run Rebrand. We don't need it. Now we get to the black stuff. So we have 4 Toa and 3 of this cool Bardock Unison. So Toa here allows us to search top 5 for any black android or demon realm race, 3 costs or less, or this Unison specifically. The bottom effect doesn't matter because we're not a Fin leader, but allows us to search out this guy here. Now, while this is good, is because this allows us to have a Unison on board that's also going to be drawing us a card every single turn. That also has a built-in floodgate that forces your opponent to warp cards if they want to attack with battle cards. This is very good. This is very, very good. 3 I thought was fine, because you're gonna have your opponent's gonna have such a small hand for most of the game. This card's gonna be able to live. Once this card gets to over 3 markers, it's probably never gonna die unless you decide to -2 and then they kill it. But this card just nets you so much value being able to play this on turn 2. Now you're gonna be drawing cards. You're gonna be warping cards from your opponent's hand. It's gonna be a good time. This guy here, like I said, searches out itself, the Unison, and then 2 other cards in the deck. One is going to be Dark Temptation Toa. This is a Overwhelm 3. Your opponent pitches a card, and then you give your leader 5k for the turn if it's green or yellow, which it will be. It's good. This is good for helping to clear boards or clear Unisons. Also, being able to take a card out of your opponent's hand is very good. Also, being able to give your leader 5k, and then on your triple attack turn, your leader then becomes a 20k triple attack crit base, which is very powerful as well. It's also just a good charge target because it is a black card. And then the other card is going to be Demon God Toa. So, Demon God Toa is a very good card too. Why this card's good is that we can evolve on top of the 1-drop here for 2 energy. We can draw the card, and then our opponent has to warp 2 battle cards from their board and/or hand. If they don't, you can take a battle card. You can take a Unison from their board and gain control over it if it has 4 or more markers. So why this is good, and that blue decks, blue players really love establishing like the dual attacker Unison, or even Majin Buu or something else, right? Well, as we're going to be ripping cards from their hand because most blue decks can't handle, most decks actually can't just handle, warping effects to their drop, from their hand unless it's a black deck. They're not going to have a ton of cards at hand. So being able to just tap 2 for this, either force another card out of their hand, whether it's a counterplay, or they let it go and now they have to warp 2 cards out of their hand. We get a draw, and then we either get to take 2 cards off their board and/or hand, If not, we get to take their Unison. If you get to take a Boo Unison, the game's basically over at that point because they're not going to be able to do much. But this is kind of the Demon God package here for the Unison. I do think it's very good. There's some other cards you can add as well. There's a Mira that you can play for free. I don't think I have it with me here. I think it's in my bulk box. But there's a Mira that you can play. It's the same Mira that you play in the what deck is that? The Fin deck. You play it for free, and you can play out a 5-drop that warps 2 cards from your opponent's hand. It's a very good card. But you also can play that card as well because it is an android. And we run two Demon God Demigras. Since we want to have a high black count, we want to be able to use the Dark Overrealm. Tap 2, card comes into play, draws you a card, warps something on board, and then every time this card attacks, your opponent warps a card from their hand. So we're just putting more and more stuff in the warp. 2 is fine. This card doesn't live that long, so tapping 2 for it. It needs to basically be better than tapping 2 for this, or tapping 2 for your draw late. So it's just in there again. This card gets charged a lot. It's probably one of the worst cards in the deck, but it is what it is. For Supreme Kaya Time, Guardian of Space Time, I sold my other 2, so I have to buy 2 more. They were foil. They were sold out they were bought out for some reason, so I just sold them. But this card here is also good, black card. But also, if you have 5 or less cards in hand, this card becomes a 10k combo. Opponent doesn't really see it coming. They'll try to kill you quickly. So being able to have just like a free 10k combo in your hand, like a pseudo combo, while they're losing cards as well, is very, very good. So definitely good having 4 of this guy in the deck. Now we get to my favorite package in the entire deck. This is the reason why I wanted to play it. 4 Dark Mask King, Pursuit of Power, and 3 King Vegeta, Kingdom Lost. So this package here makes the black variant of this deck incredibly powerful. So this is a 1-drop. If your opponent has 2 or more energy, and 1 or more battle cards in play, one or more battle cards in their warp, this card becomes a 10k that can attack battle cards in active mode. So why this is cool is that we can use this to attack some of our opponent's smaller battle cards, especially the ones that have barrier, like Poutine, things like that. You can actually just use it to just swing into them, just to force more cards out of their hand. Second effect, if your opponent has 5 or more cards in the warp, you can tap 1 and then play this guy, energy cost of 6 from your deck or your hand on top of it in active mode. So use this to swing out a small battle card and then activate for 1, restand it, play this guy from your deck or your hand in active mode. Now this card comes into play. So you can actually play it for 2 if your opponent has 3 more cards in the warp. For 2 black, which is why we want to make sure that we have the black energy. This is a double strike barrier unique. When it comes into play, you warp something from your opponent's board, or you warp something from their hand of your choosing. You do not get to see, so it's just random. And then when this card's in rest mode, your opponent has to warp 1 card from their hand if they want to attack your leader. This card's amazing. This card single-handedly can just stop your opponent from doing things. Take into consideration your leader swing, this, a few other of your warping effects. It makes it really difficult to deal with. And then also trying to get through this card is just really stupid. They have to waste so much resources most of the time to try to pump through this card that they're not going to have enough resources to actually kill you or even get to you. Why this is good is because this you can actually play for 1 colorless, meaning if you have a green and a black energy, you can play this for the green energy and then tap the black to then play this card out. So that way you don't have to tap 2 black to play this card out. It's just another way to get out of the out of the deck or of your hand without having to resort to using 2 black energy. Because it also just depends on your charge at that particular point, right? But this just allows you to do that. The other ones just end up getting charged, so that way we have black charge product. Right? The last green card in the deck was Homicidal Clones. We don't need actual mono green energy to play it. Our leader just needs to be mono green. So this is just a free negate. Just allows us to get a little extra defense, especially if our opponent's trying to push for game and use like a final hurrah, essentially. To Protector of the People. This is the best floodgate for this deck. The reason why I say this is you can play Boo, Majin Buu, but you need 2 green energy. So you have to keep that in mind. Oceanus is cool, but generally they're not going to be drawing a ton of cards. So that card's actually not very good. Why this card's good is that it is an extra card. So your opponent can't use the Vegeta Resolve Renewed. They can't use any of the battle card or the extra card anti-floodgate cards. So you negate the attack. and then you pitch a card. If you pitch a card, your opponent, every time they attack your leader with a battle card, your leader gains 5k. So why that's good is that you're already warping and removing cards from their hand as it is, right? So now they're going to have to pump more cards into attacking your leader, and it's just going to waste more and more resources. And then we have our 4 super combos. We have our 4 pseudo super combos. It's going to be very, very difficult for them to kill you. I would actually probably bump this up to 3 if you have a third one. I think I don't have a third one for some reason. I think that's why I wasn't playing it. But definitely 3 of this card, I think. I would probably take out something else in the deck just to run 3 of these. Because in aggro matchups, this card will save you. There was a game I actually pumped 2 of these in the same turn. My opponent's like, all right, cool. I guess I just can't kill you, right? It's very difficult to get through. And the last, well, 2 of the last cards in the deck, we have Shinran the Wishgranter. This is kind of your boss monster of the deck. So, Sparking 7, you play this card, you draw 2, and you get to choose 1 of 2 functions. So you either get 1 of 3 functions. You get to restand 4 energy, which is cool. Sometimes you just want to do that just to draw. So you have that effect. That actually allows you on turn 6, which is a potential play. You actually can play this for 5, restand 4, then you have 5 energy, and then you can play second one. It's a weird play, but you can end up doing it. Second one is you choose one of your opponent. You choose a battle card, energy cost 3 or less from your drop, and play it. So we don't have a ton of options here. You have that. You have this, which is probably the best option for you. You have this card as well, which becomes a dual attacker. You can play this, play this. This is probably the best one to play though. The reason is because all of these other cards, outside of the pseudo super combo, which is probably, I would say, if you're going for game or need the extra defense, this is probably the best. But Raditz actually gains its draw effect just when it's played. So you can play Shinran, you can do that effect if you needed to, and then you can play Raditz to then just draw a bunch of cards. So you draw 2 cards off this and then however many cards off this card. It's pretty cool. The last effect, though, is the important one. You choose your leader, and he gets 15k and triple strike for the duration of the turn. So tie this in with your triple attack effect here. You play this, give your leader 15k and triple attack, or triple strikes, now becomes a 30k triple strike crit base. Then you tie in a Dark Temptation, and now your leader is 35k triple attack, triple strike, crit base. Pretty difficult to deal with. Most people, when they see that, they'll just scoop because there's no way they're getting through it because they're not going to have enough cards in hand. So this is definitely the strongest boss monster for this particular style of the deck. Secret rare is going to be Kai. Kai will save you. Kai will stop your opponent from killing you with the Unison. They decide to sequence out of turn and they swing with like a battle card or something like that, you can use this to stop their leader and their Unison from attacking. This will allow you to go over a lot of big swings and also just wiping boards and Unisons. You should own this card if you play the game competitively. I would. It's just there's no reason not to. Of course, unless you can't afford it, but it's got a few reprints, but yeah, this card here, this is like the best. I love playing this card. Like once you drop this card, your opponent's like, all right, cool. I guess if I don't have a blocker, I guess I just lose. And then obviously your first attack, you're still making them warp a card, so it just makes it even more difficult to combo out of this card. So, but that is the Raditz deck. Like I said, the one big change you can make is the mirror chain, the 5-drop mirror chain, which is pretty cool. But I think this variation of the deck is better than the mono green. I personally, for me, being able to put more stuff in the warp consistently is better than just dropping cards from their hand, because they can also run Deborah, they can run all the, like the anti-hand destruction cards, and that kind of hurts when you're using all of your hand destruction stuff. Allowing them to keep a hand side, but with all of the black cards in here that warp, it stops your opponent from using anything. So like they're gonna side in all that stuff like Deborahs and stuff, and then you're just gonna warp everything with the black cards, and they're not going to get any effects off of it. So but that is my Raditz deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you like, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.